Good morning. Welcome to Bible meditation on Book of Daniel. So last week we ended with where Daniel knew that there was a law that if he worshiped his God, then he will be thrown into lion's den. And so he did that, and because he previously been doing this for a long time, and at this time Daniel was 80 years old, and now he's thrown into lion's den. And the king was worried, and he wanted to go and see him. So next day, as he fasted and prayed all day, he woke up early in the morning and went to see Daniel. And I asked, "Daniel, are you alive? Did your God rescue you?" And Daniel says, Yes, king, I am alive because of my God." So here's the question that you might want to ask with your children. Why God rescued Daniel? There's many reasons behind it, but I think one of the reasons perhaps is because Daniel was a faithful servant of God. He served God no matter what happened. Since the beginning, he continued to worship God and honor God for what he has done. Not what he did, but what God has done. Another question that we might want to ask is this: how did Daniel have such a faith like that, Don't you wish that you might have a faith like him? I do. So here we notice, if you look at the way back when he was a teenager, you remember the time when King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream? Right there, Daniel praised God and had faith in God ever since he was a youth. And later on, Daniel also saw that his three friends were rescued through God when they were in the furnace. We saw that. And so we see how God was training Daniel in the previous time and over again. Not only Daniel, but if you look at the great men and women of God in the Bible, a person like David. Remember the story when David was facing the Goliath? He was a youth, but if you look at the passage very carefully, David said that he killed a lion and a bear. And so because he had training before, he had confidence, not on himself, but he had confidence in God that if God rescued me from the lion and the bear and he killed it, then surely he could kill the giants. And so we need to understand that God trains his people. And so Daniel, when he was 80 years old at that time, he was trained all the way till this today as he faced life and death situation again. But I do have to say this, and you also need to tell your children if you're sharing this with your children, is that not everyone was rescued. Just like John the Baptist, he was martyred. And also James, the brother of John, was martyred as well. And so the key is not being rescued from your situation, but to keep your faith strong in the Lord. That's what's important here. And so Daniel continued to faithfully serve God as he worshiped God as previously he did, and through his faithfulness, God rescued him. Now I want you to think about this. You see, the entire Israelite, they are in slavery in Babylon, and they have no hope. But previously, they heard about the story about Daniel, how he interpreted the dreams of King Nebuchadnezzar, and then years later, maybe 30 years later, his three friend was in the furnace and God rescued him. And now, Daniel is in the lion's den and everybody's afraid. Can God actually rescue him? And here God rescued Daniel. And King Darius was amazed, and he made a law to worship God. And we'll talk about that tomorrow more in detail. So first, I want to encourage you. Today, let us continue to be faithful to God no matter what happens to us. And God is training us for the storm that is coming ahead in the future for us. Well, thank you for your time today. God bless you, and may you have a wonderful time with your family. And I'll see you tomorrow.